Why did you? Welcome to Recovery Unfiltered. I'm Larry. I'm an alcoholic.
I am Rob. I am also an alcoholic. We are not professionals. There are no letters after our names. We know very little. However, you will hear the word God and a four-letter word in the same sentence. You will also be offended. So if you are easily offended, just pass us by. This podcast is not for you.
Our opinions are just that. If you don't agree with what we're saying, that's okay. We're going to love you anyways. We are not in any way affiliated with AA.
So sit back, grab a beverage of your choice, and get ready.
Let's go. Welcome back.
Hi, Larry.
Hello, Rob.
How you doing, buddy?
You know I always got to say it like that.
I know.
They wouldn't know. They wouldn't know it any other way.
That's what they expect.
So we hit 1,000 downloads today.
Did we?
Yes, sir.
Didn't we make a promise? Or not a promise, but we said we might.
I thought we weren't going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Remember what you said?
No, I have a short-term memory.
You want me to repeat what you said?
Go ahead.
No, I'm not going to.
Oh, the 2,000 I brought. Yeah, I know.
See, now our listeners are going to think we're not people of our words.
Well, I can't control what they think.
Damn it, Rob. So one of the things I want to talk about real fast and to the listeners, I've been playing with the audio on the backside of this, and I'm going to say from the very beginning of this thing, I've always said God's in charge of this. God's in charge. God's in charge. But I kept, as Larry does. Larry's a perfect, got to make everything perfect. I kept farting around with the audio, and kept making things worse and worse and worse. And my gosh, it was just killing me on the editing side of it because I was just overanalyzing everything. Well, I went back and I listened to our very first episodes when we did it in my office over there, just the two of us. And all I was using was just plain old, nothing fancy. And I was like, you know what? Okay, we're going back to just straight up what we were doing, what God gave me from the very beginning, and that's what I'm going to stick with. So I think today's audio is going to be a lot better. I hope that we're going to get everything correct. We got the mic set to what my Rodecaster is going to do, and what it does, it does. So I'm going to live with it.
Okay, stripped and slimmed down. Here we go.
There you go. Hey, and you, what did your sister say about the F-bombs?
She said, quit apologizing for the F-bombs. If you say them, just let it go. Move on.
All right, fuck it, Tammy. That one's for you.
Yeah, that's better.
You know, Katie was saying, I was telling her that I really want to try and be more professional in it and try to, she's like, Larry, you don't talk like that when you get into professional meetings and you go to your contract meetings and stuff. I'm like, no, not at all. She's like, then why do you got to throw them up there? I said, because we're around comfortable people. It's who I am. This is what makes me comfortable. And if it slips, it slips. But I'm going to try not to.
See, I'm a little more like this everywhere, kind of.
Yeah.
But I'll work on it. Just not today.
Just not today. So we brought back a very, very special one. And I'm happy to have you back. Hello, Mary.
Hello, I am Mary.
Hey, tell me about your podcast and your friends and how they received that.
I was kind of reluctant to tell people about it. I'm not going to lie. Well, because it's a lot. However,
okay.
God did not allow that. He did not allow me to keep it to myself. There were several people in my life that found out about it through other sources, other avenues. And a couple of people have come up to me and said, thank you so much. Some people have come up to me and said, I listen to every word. Right. One person in particular who I absolutely adore and just want to be like when I grow up came to me, and she is one of those people that rarely ever cuss. She said, I was hanging on to every fucking word. And I thought to myself, I don't know if my mind is more blown that you said the F word or that you listened to every stinking word,
Didn't the F word make perfect sense right there?
Absolutely. It was a perfect just accent. That's exactly how she felt.
But in the right context, it's
right.
Great. You and I
it just comes out like butter for us.
It fills the empty spaces.
Mm-hmm. I don't use ums and I don't use that. I just use fuck.
Whatever floats your boat, my guy.
Sorry, Mom. Hey, by the way, she enjoyed that text message I sent to her.
Good. Sue, how you doing? I will not step on Larry today. I promise.
I think we're getting better at that too.
Not bad.
Yeah. Anyways, we do have probably one of my most precious people that you could ever imagine with us in here today. He's been a very instrumental part of my recovery, very instrumental part of Mary's recovery, a very, very instrumental part of Rob's. And we're going to go ahead and welcome him in. You want to introduce yourself, guest?
Hi, my name is Chris, and I'm in recovery today.
There you go. There, man's here. But hold on a second. I cannot go anywhere further till I do this.
How did you get into primary?
Chris, of course.
Yeah.
Chris L. every single time.
Right.
He asked me one day, I was, again, struggling because I was never comfortable.
Right.
I was getting ready to leave,
Right.
crying over there by the flipping classroom in the bushes, getting ready to do my laundry. And he comes around and says, Mary, what's got you down?
Oh, I can't wait to. We got to play that back when he's on the show.
Hey, you didn't think I was going to forget, did you?
I was hoping. And no, it gets better. It's better. It's a good story. I really...
Yeah, that was the end of it. So I went back when I knew when Chris was coming earlier today and I was getting prepped up. I can go back and find that. Chris, you are such a special man to all three of us in this room. Sorry, I'm going to get choked up. You know, I'm going to tell a quick story, and our listeners have heard this story, but I'm going to say it again. When I was put with Chris after I was sent to the principal's office multiple times, and after my first meeting with Chris, and you don't even remember this, do you? What I'm about ready to tell you.
I don't know, Larry. Throw it out there.
We went to the first meeting was I think it was just that meeting for Chris to really try and get to know me. In the second meeting, he had me figured out. When I walked in, he had all the chairs turned around backwards, and I started rearranging those chairs. And Chris was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm fixing the chairs. That's not your job. Nobody told you to do that." And from that moment on, I was like, "Oh man, this man's got my number. I'm going to flip my world upside down." So, Chris, from that day on, my world has changed. And you and God has been a very instrumental part of that. And I'm so excited to have you here. I'm excited to have you in my home that you helped save in Maynard's. We talk about Maynard's quite often in here.
It's part of our story.
It is our story.
So,
yeah.
And that's, and when we get to it, and then I love Chris. Everybody loves Chris. And I know when we talk like this about him, it makes him feel uncomfortable. One, because he is a humble man and he wants
Very
to stay
humble.
that way.
Right.
And he's an instrument of God, as we all want to be. But at times you need to let us, because it's our story and we express it, and it's our way of acknowledging what you've done. So just accept the grace.
Well, one of the things I told Chris when we were talking earlier, I go, "Hey, don't worry. You remember you're in the room with Rob, Larry, and Mary. Trust me, when you leave there, you are not going to be a humble person." we have a way of handling that.
So now that you've done that, what was your first experience of Chris?
He has a certain kind of energy that is infectious, and it's all over the place. So on day 2 of rehab, when I'm still desperately trying to be awake, and, half as miserable as I was the day before, I kind of gave him the eyeballs, like, what the... Can you not today? Can you not? I don't care if you get to home at 5:00, and I don't really want to meet your wife today. So, can you not?
Do you know my wife? And you never will. I got to meet her.
Well, good for you.
Pam is an amazing person.
Oh my gosh,
Amazing
yeah.
person.
Definitely was nice to meet her because it let me know the man you are. Really, just incredible lady, incredible everything you guys do. So Chris, that being said, talk to us a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Chris, and I'm in recovery today, and I'm humbled, and I feel undeserving to be able to sit here with you and all the kind words. It does make me feel uncomfortable.
Well, we're going to fix that for you. Don't worry.
I bet you will.
When I first met Chris, I wanted to punch him. How's that feel? Does that make you feel better? I did. I wanted to, because he has that, and it was my second day there,
Right.
and I'm sitting outside on the bench, and here comes this guy. And later you talk about the darkness, when the lights, I was still there. And this guy comes and sits by me, and he's Chris, and he's beaming, and he's got that, Mary did a great job. and I don't want him near me. He's light, and he's smiling, my name's Chris, and I'm going to be your counselor. And in my mind, I want to say, get the fuck away from me. I don't want nothing to rub off. I don't want you, I just don't want you, because I just, when you're there. But for whatever reason, I believed him. But what I said was, I can't live like this anymore. And then that smile of his and that eye went serious. He stopped smiling. He says, I can help you. I don't know why. I believed him. And from that moment on, whatever he would have said to me, I did from that point on. But that's where I first had hope. That's where hope came in from him. Changed my life. Yes, I know. And I know God used you. I know you were an instrument. But if we don't make ourselves available to him, he cannot use us, which is something you do great, and which is a part of your tool chest that I took upon me to be more like that. Be available. So when you made yourself available, God used you to change my life.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank
All
you.
right, we're done billing you up.
Yeah.
I mean, you're okay.
Yeah, you're all right.
Well, I learned that it's not about my ability. It's about my
Availability.
availability. And
Hey, I brought my whole notebook of your acronyms out.
Hold on. He just used a Robism on Rob. I love you for that.
I made sure to bring my notebook from Maynard's out here. So when you start spitting those acronyms out, I'm going to go looking for it.
so you understand how
There you
the program works.
Honestly,
right?
openly, and willingly. Just saying.
I have so much fun with you guys.
Hey, we forgot about we have an audience here today, and it's Mary's Matt that came with us. Or
My
Matt's
Matt.
Mary is here watching us today, and he is also a Maynard alumni. So we got
Whoop,
a
whoop.
room full of Maynards. So, anyways, sorry.
Yes, we do.
So we're going to touch on a little bit of Chris's story now.
Yeah, it's Chris' show now. Come on.
Oh, boy, I'll keep this as concise as I can.
Yeah.
Had an excellent high school, great family, did extremely well.
You're a ball
in-
player, correct? You're a good ball player.
Yes, I was.
Baseball.
Yes, thank you for bringing that forth. I was recruited by USC and actually got a letter from Stanford. Chose to go to CSUS, California State University, Stanislaus in Turlock. Only starting freshman, broke the record most hits as a freshman. So I was doing extremely well. And then towards the end of my freshman year, started drinking in excess. And that led to something I discovered that can enhance my drinking. So I started drinking a whole lot.
Hold on. Say it the way you say it.
What?
Oh, never mind.
Oh, you mean what I discovered to enhance my drinking was a little bit of methamphetamine.
Sponsored by Powdered Accelerants.
So I was using a lot of methamphetamine. I was drinking a whole lot and quit school, quit baseball. Got a job working construction as a residential electrician. And on the job site, you'll find a lot of the methamphetamine. So I continued to use a whole lot of meth, drinking a whole lot. Eventually lost that job because of my performance at work, not showing up.
So you just had 1 year of baseball. After your freshman year, that's when you stopped?
Yes.
Okay.
And I had a great freshman year.
Were you on a scholarship?
No,
Okay. All right.
no. But I did extremely well. And the alcohol and other drugs took me down a road that I am grateful that I went down because I get to sit here with you. And it allowed God to show me what his purpose was for me. So I was working construction, lost that job, then started driving a curbside recycling truck around Modesto, picking up cans and bottles. Then a friend of the family introduced me to a possible job working in Hayward, selling commercial computer products back in the early 90s. So I drove up there, interviewed, got the job. It was awesome. I was commuting from Modesto to Hayward, making some really good money, drinking on the way home, doing that methamphetamine, and waking up the next morning, doing a little bit more methamphetamine, got to work. And then on one of my commutes from Modesto to Hayward, I was hungover. I'd been up all night drinking. I had just won MVP of the Coors Light Invitational Softball Tournament.
Nice.
Yeah. So I fell asleep on Niles Canyon Road, off the road to the right, overcorrected left, head-on collision, and went to Eden Trauma Center Hospital, given 36 hours to live. But God said, I'm not going to take you yet.
Not done with you.
Not done with you yet. So after 28 days there,
Can I ask how old you were during that period?
25.
25. Okay.
I was 25 years old. So after that, I got out of the hospital, went to rehab, had to relearn how to walk, how to talk, how to swallow. From what I was told.
That's when you got the traumatic brain injury.
Yes. So I do have a traumatic brain injury. I have memory problems, concentration problems. Sometimes I get a bit impulsive and angry. And
Look out.
oh man,
I've never seen that, but he says he does.
let's not go there. Let's just stay away from that for a minute. So I went back to work, but I moved to a place in Hayward that I could afford, and it was right across the street from the neighborhood bar.
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, it was at
Perfect.
the time. I'm telling you. I was loving it because I'd get home from work and I lived alone. So I was alone, depressed, and there was Curly's place
That's
right
right.
across the street. That was the name of it. Yeah. So I'd have a rough day at work. I'd go over to Curly's place and just drink the rest of the night. And that's when I discovered what a fire drill was.
Which
Can't wait to hear this.
This is new to you, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a new one.
Well, I'm sitting there at the bar, and the bartender comes over to me and says, "Chris, fire drill." And I panicked for a minute. I thought there was a fire. And she said, "No, you step out back and you smoke a joint with the boys." So I had lots of fire drills.
Wow.
I found the guy who sold methamphetamine.
I was going to say, had to have something to go back the other direction.
Yeah, amen. So I eventually lost that job, which was a good job. It was making good money. And then I moved back to Modesto. Had a few odds and ends jobs that I couldn't keep because I was drinking and I was using. Ran out of money. And then I found a way to get more methamphetamine. This was back in the early 90s. And they had those Sudafed pills.
Yep.
And they were on the shelf. So I'd go to the local supermarket. I'd dressed up, go down the gift card aisle because it's my wife's birthday. This was different. I didn't have a wife at the time, but boy, I dressed up for it and I looked sharp. I'm telling you, nobody would think I was going to do something silly enough to stop by the pharmaceutical aisle, which was right next to the gift card aisle, and just put a bunch of Sudafed pills in a bag and walk out the door.
Oh, boy.
Well, I did that a few times. And then one time I got tackled by a plainclothes cop. And I got taken to jail. Previous to that, I would take these pills to somebody that was able to make the methamphetamine for me. And at the time, I was engaged to somebody that worked in the court system. He caught wind of that, and he thought I was going to tell on him. So he took me to the back of the room, put me on a chair on a green blanket.
I know where we're going.
Yeah, I've heard the end of this story. I've never heard the beginning of it.
And he said, "As soon as I'm done making the dope out of the pills that you made me, I'm going to knock you out. I'm going to wrap you up in the blanket, and I'm going to throw you in the canal." And I said, "Oh, no, you're not." So I jumped up, tried to run out of the room, and he pulled a machete behind his back, and he hit me with the machete below my left eye. And I have a scar from that experience. So I sat there on that chair, on that green blanket, and I prayed, "God, please get me out of this. I promise I'll never do it again." Well, a friend came by that I knew. Now I had a witness. So she convinced him to let me go, took me to the hospital. I had 9 stitches, but I never told. And you think that would be enough?
Nope.
No, it wasn't. So I kept using, I kept stealing to support my habit. And then I got caught one day. I know where you're going with this, Rob. I'm going to have to tell the story, aren't I?
Yeah, it's got to come out, baby.
All right. So, yeah, I got caught and I got thrown in jail.
Jerome was there.
Who?
Jerome.
Okay, that was a traumatic experience
I
for me,
apologize.
Rob. But since you brought it up,
gotta
now the listeners have to know.
They got to know.
We don't have to.
You know.
We can cut it out.
No.
For those of you that can't see me, if you only hear my voice, I'm about 5'9", skinny white boy, and That kind of person doesn't do well
but
in
you're
jail.
taller than Rob. You're taller than Rob. That's all that counts.
Just a smidgen.
Yeah. So, I sat there. Fortunately, we were in 2 separate cells, and I sat there in my corner, and I'm sure he saw me scared, and he came over to the bars, and he stuck his big head between the bars and said, "Me and you, we're going to be boyfriend, girlfriend."
Wow.
What are you looking at, Rob? You have your own Jerome, Rob.
I know.
Don't let him catch you from behind, Rob.
I love these stories.
So, and I've got many of them throughout the course of my time, through my journey getting to where I am today. And I'm so honored and humbled by you guys asking me to be here and to see how well you are doing.
I don't think anybody here can be more happier than me that you're sitting right here. And a couple questions came up, Chris, during that time. Can I ask you had no significant other during that period of time, right? You were just running.
I did not.
You were running on your own.
I was
What
all
about
by
your,
myself.
Your parents.
My parents were very supportive.
Awesome parents.
Yeah.
Yes. Rob's met my parents, and I think you
I
have
met
as
your
well.
mom. I met your dad. Did I meet your mom?
I feel like this is a boys' club where Mary doesn't get to meet everybody.
Mary, you just need to start talking.
Well, all right then. Now, how would your mom and dad have supported you in this time?
Cut me off of everything.
Ah,
Nah, Mary perks up, says, yep.
I see.
So I couldn't see my young son, who my car wreck happened October 25th, 1993. My son was born January 4th.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So he was born about 9 months before my accident, and even to this day, it hurts my heart that I really didn't get to see his first few steps. But that story will be continued.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We're going to get
yes.
into that. Yeah.
So where did I leave off, Mary?
You were many stories throughout your journey to where you got to today, and that how you were so overwhelmingly grateful to be here with all of us and to be
Amen.
honored.
So I'm going to go back to a couple other things that happened throughout the course of my journey here.
I wish you would.
All right. Well, at one point, I ran out of all the drugs. I didn't have any alcohol, but I was told about this place that had the good stuff. And all you got to do is say a few things and they'll let you in. I said, cool. So I went to this place and I told them what I needed to tell them, and they let me in. And then they didn't give me the good stuff.
I know where this is going.
So I asked them, or I told them I wanted to leave. And they wouldn't let me leave. I had to stay for 72 hours. I
Been
remember.
there.
I remember. Yeah, a lot of us have. I remember in that room, all by myself, and I prayed,
Again?
God, help me with this. I promise I'll never do it again. Well, it wasn't long after that, sure enough, I kept using. I kept drinking. My prayers were answered again. And throughout the course of this journey that I've been telling you about, the scar below my left eye, the great time I had in that, what do they call it? Mental institution?
Behavioral health.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a nice way to put it, Mary.
Yeah, it is. It is. But so that was another experience that I had that God was using to try to get my attention. And I had missed all those signs. The helicopter story, right?
Yep.
You remember it?
Oh, buddy. Yep.
Well, this guy's
Talk about
watching
my
TV.
helicopter story. Or yours. Oh, no. Go ahead.
This guy's watching TV and he sees newsflash, flood's coming.
Oh,
So he
yeah.
said, God, help me. Help me survive this flood. Well, the water kept rising. He got on his roof. A rowboat comes by. They say, get in the boat. You're going to drown. He said, nope, don't need to. God's going to save me. Well, it kept rising. Helicopter comes by, throws out a ladder and says, grab the ladder. You're going to drown. He says, nope, don't need to. God's going to save me. Well, he drowned. He gets to heaven and he says, God, you were supposed to save me. And God said,
You
what?
dumb son of a bitch. I sent you a boat and a helicopter.
Well, Chris, I think, has got a little better into that, but I like that ending.
Yeah.
That's what we were all thinking anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah. And our
that's not how it
listeners.
ends? It is.
No, it's not.
Oh, son of a gun.
My point was that's just another sign that I missed from God,
Right.
that I need to turn to Him and not my drug of choice. Because I had a whole lot of drugs of choice, and I would do whatever it takes to get that drug of choice. And I learned that once I started, I couldn't stop. And if I didn't have it, all I was thinking about was how I'm going to get it. And if I did have it, all I was thinking about was how I'm going to use it without somebody knowing. So that cycle of insanity continued for many years. It continued for many years. And then I eventually got busted again, thrown in jail again. And that's when I had an intervention. God intervened. And I sent this guy a kite, which is a note, to see if somebody could come see you. Because I wanted this guy to come see me. He was actually a pastor. I wanted him to come see me, and I thought that he and I and God would walk out. No, that didn't happen. He sat there, and I told him about all the things that were wrong, how it wasn't me that did it, and how horrible I was being treated. And he basically said, Chris, stop whining. I will show you how you can be free, even though you're in jail, Chris. So he gave me a workbook. He gave me a Bible and asked me to do a few things and said, if you don't have these things done by the next time I see you, I'm not coming back. So that was some real motivation for me to begin the program, the 12 steps. And today, I remember that, and it was December 20th, 2004.
Do you remember that guy's name?
Yeah.
Did you stay in contact with him?
I still do.
Do you really?
Almost 20 years later. Matter of fact, last Sunday, I went down and we talked. We went to a meeting and we went to dinner after.
Is it the same sponsor we all had?
No.
Okay.
That I refer to as my spiritual advisor.
Okay.
The guy that you're referring to, when I got out of jail, I was going to AA meetings every day. And that's where I met my sponsor now. Matter of fact, I just saw him last week too. And we talked about some really good memories. And sometimes I think about his response to me after I got done saying everything that was happening.
Yeah.
And he'd say it like this. He'd say, now, Chris, let's turn to page. And he'd always take me to the page that I needed to read that would help. And then it got to the point where I'm calling him and I'm saying, hey, Jay, what page is this on? And you know what he'd say? Now, Chris.
I imagine he'd say, find it.
Yes, he'd say, what good would it do you if I told you? And he said, you find it and then we'll talk about it. And he said, I will give you a hint. It's in the first 164 pages.
I will tell you that you pulled that same shit on me like day 3 in rehab. Everybody's talking about acceptance. I'm like, what about it? And you're like, it's in the book, Mary, find it. Nobody tell her what page it is. Find it in the big book. I'll see you next time.
I was blown away when there was a guy that had he had a few years sober and decided that he was going to do the program without any help. And he was, after 15 years of sobriety, he was back in there with us. And Chris was using him as an index because something was said and Chris would go, what page is that on? And he would just spout it out like that. And I'm like, how in the hell do these people remember that crap? But you know what's funny about it is I remember a lot of that now myself. And now I know why they remember it.
Amen.
Right.
You know, I was going to play a trick on you, Larry, back then. I was going to ask you to find the word sponsor in the first 164.
It's not there.
It's not there?
No.
Oh, but you would have spent a whole lot of time looking for it. Learning that book, huh?
I'd have tore that book apart. I'd have done it. If you'd have told me to go stand by a tree for an hour at that time, I would have done it.
Yeah.
He would have came back 15 minutes later saying, this book is wrong.
Right.
or you had to
Somebody
make
gave
a
me the
bunch of
wrong book.
corrections or something, you know? I can
That's
see
funny,
that out of
Barry.
Larry.
Yeah. I wrote it in right here. It's supposed to be on this page right here.
Get it right, boys.
So, throughout the course of my time where I work, it seems they always give me the challenging people to work with. I like to call them the wonderful opportunity to build character and grow.
For you or for those people?
Well,
Or both?
Larry was a little extra special. He really gave that opportunity for me to build character and grow. I like to say, for those who feel they deserve love the least, they need it the most. I sure love you, Larry.
Chris, I feel your pain. But think of this. You got him for, actually, you didn't even get him for 28 days because Larry's story. He didn't get you to the last week.
It was like 7 days.
That's all.
Yeah.
Look how long I've had to deal with this son of a
Jesus.
Yeah, but
God bless
every
him.
minute of every day.
You guys are not going to turn this around on me.
No. Hell no, not you.
No.
No, we just want to make sure you're paying attention.
I'm
Right
paying
size,
how
my
much
friend,
of
right
that you
size.
did.
Oh, I'm paying attention.
Are you listening?
Sorry, I'm listening.
Do not fall asleep in my group.
I can tell you, I only got in trouble in the group one time, and it was because I tried to sneak chew in. I was trying to keep a chew in, and Chris goes, no, you got to take that out. I'm like, damn it.
You guys got in trouble.
Huh?
You got in trouble?
Oh, honey, did I get in trouble?
I mean, I guess I'm fucking delightful because I didn't get in trouble.
Oh, I was in the principal's office 3 times, right?
Are we bragging?
No, God, no. Not bragging now. If I look back on it now,
A little cringe?
yeah, but, I have a fairly decent relationship with several people up there now, and I have an opportunity to speak with people up there now, and I've had to apologize to them. And there's one I won't apologize, but she's no longer there. I'll never apologize to her. That sounds really bad. My bad. Take that back.
Well, we'll put
Rob?
that on your list.
I didn't say that. I was talking. Me and Matt are talking here.
Oh, yeah, well, let me tell you what program says, can I?
Do, please.
What?
Made a list of all people
I
we
know.
had harmed and make amends to them.
She needs to make
To
amends
them
to
what?
me immediately.
To them all.
I don't think it says to those who deserve it.
See, you guys are turning it on me. I turned it on to myself, I think.
No, just giving you a little
Except
extra
when to
love
do
and
so
attention.
would injure them or others.
So tell us a little bit. So you're counseling up there, obviously.
I'm working with people.
Okay.
I'm serving those people that God gives me the opportunity to serve.
I'm gonna hold on a second. I jumped too far ahead. So let's go back a little bit. In your recovery, when did it come on you that you wanted to stay involved in that? You wanted to get involved in that, in the recovery and working with others, not aside from the book, but professionally, and dedicate your life to that. At what point did that happen?
Right outside of your 12-step
right.
obligation.
Good question. And how I want to answer that is this. Throughout the course of me trusting in the process like I was told to do and fully surrendering to God's will for my life, it transformed me.
Mm-hmm.
It transformed my heart into my commitment to serving those who struggle. Like we all have a story of experience, strength, and hope. And if we can carry that message of hope and healing to somebody that needs it, the transformation took place where I haven't felt better.
Right.
You know?
Amen.
And when I get to help somebody in a manner that I do, and I believe the gift that God has given me to really make an impression on a community of people that need it,
Yeah.
and that's what I get to do today.
Hey, wild guess or wild shot in the dark. How many people have you seen? How many people have you helped?
One or two.
I knew that was coming. I don't even know why I asked that question.
Today.
And
Right.
if I'm blessed, I'll get to help a couple more tomorrow.
You know, I think that's the biggest thing that, we talk about this quite often on the podcast where I'm just not, and you and I've actually, Chris, had this conversation where I've tried to sponsor and I've tried to do that one-on-one and I just can't do it. In fact, I'm going into the jails tonight. As soon as we're done with the podcast today, recording, wrapping up, I'm going to go into the jails. And Rob always says you like going in there because they can't run from you.
You got a captive
Captive
audience.
audience, yeah.
That's right.
So I just the joy that I get out of working with a group of people. There was a guy in this office right here. I literally ran him out of my house, and I've said that on here several times. I just don't have that in me. So to work like this and to work in the jails and to do that, that came upon me slowly. Rob asked me to about 6 months out after recovery, Rob said, let's chair this meeting together. And we started chairing out at primary. And, that I honestly didn't even get into that until about the last 3 months of it. And I say this, I didn't enjoy my recovery at Maynard's until the last 7-8 days, right? I was just miserable. I was sober and I was okay. I was done, right? I was sober. I didn't realize what was still yet to come, right? And when I saw that, I took off running towards that. And I'll never forget, I come running out of that back office, and because I remember laying in bed and we were on a break, and I come running out of that office and I'm like, I got to start making amends. And you go, hold on, slow down, mister. You're not quite there yet, and because when I got there, but we do in this thing in recovery, right? We get that and then we back. And because when I came out of recovery, I was balls to the wall. I was full throttle, right? And then that cloud starts to disperse a little bit, right? And then something else sparks us and then disperses a little bit. And then I'm talking about me. This is how and hopefully other people can relate to that. But that spark, then it kind of dissolves for a little bit, and then something else sparks but what I've noticed in that, and hopefully all you guys can rein in on this, what I've noticed in that is because I stopped doing the things I know I need to be doing, right? I start pushing so hard on that thing that I'm into that I forget to do what's right for me, right? I stopped reading my book of a morning. I stopped going to my morning prayers. I stopped doing the things that I know to do. And that's when I realized I'm doing all this, but I'm not doing anything for me, right? That roller coaster is there because my roller coaster, what I was doing for myself was doing the same thing. Do you find yourself doing that, Rob?
What's that?
Going in and out like that.
No.
You don't do that anymore.
No.
What about when you first got sober?
No, I stayed because I didn't search as much as you did. Because remember, the first 3 years, I had a man, because I destroyed myself financially. Mm-hmm. So I had a man come pick me up, Larry, a big brother that, not you, Larry, but the big brother that Chris set me up with. For 3.5 years, that man came pick me up at a meeting every day. Mm. We chaired the Monday nights, the Thursday night. And so I was always involved. So my foundation, and that's just kind of how it got in me and Jay going through the steps, was just laid. Mm. I didn't have much of this because I was just consistent. You have kind of jumped around trying to find your. Right. I found my niche
right away.
God says, "This is where you're at." When I was 7 months sober, this man, remember Max, came to me, young man. Hey, Dad, he said, "Rob, would you sponsor me?" And I went to Jay. He said, "I'm not ready." He says, "Rubbish." Jay don't care. He said, "Rubbish. You've had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. You help him." And from that point on, it was just boom. I didn't have the journey that you did.
Right.
How about you, Mary?
I had Jay's counterpart in my ear saying, "You've gone through the steps, haven't you? Why aren't you helping somebody else do it?" Yeah. So Miss Jeanette reminded me regularly that if I have gone through the steps and I have had a spiritual awakening, it is also part of my 12th step to carry the message to other alcoholics. Right. And I want to go ahead and remind that it's important to read the words of the steps. Having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we try to take the message to other alcoholics and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. It doesn't say we do it with 100% accuracy or we're 100%, what is it? Doesn't mean we're good at it. Doesn't mean it happens we don't have 100%
progress, not perfection, baby.
Well, the reality of it is if you open your mouth to share the message of anybody to anybody who may need to hear it, that is serving the message. The only thing I want to remind you though is we have to be willing to do such a thing. Right. So by saying flat out, that's not for me, I can't do it, you're cutting yourself off from potential service throughout the rest of your life.
I know. I get it.
However,
whenever you're ready, somebody will come to you and God will make you aware of such a thing.
Maybe. And Crystal knows the story. Father Martin, big, he's dead, long dead, but I used to listen to speaker tapes, old time big AA guy, Father Martin. was admitted terrible sponsor, but he was a great speaker. And he would travel around, fellowships bring him in, and he used that gift. Practical experience, just page 72, practical experience shows nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. This is our 12th suggestion. Carry this message to other alcoholics. What's the message? You go back to the forward to the first edition, Bill tells you that we have recovered from a hopeless state of body and mind. Not been cured. So you carry that message that you can recover. That's the message. How you choose to do that is between you and God. Your strength is this. It may never be that.
Right.
So whatever that is, you use your strength to glorify God and carry this message. It may never be sponsorship.
Right.
But you're going to hear some people say in the rooms, well, you've never really worked a 12-step till you've taken someone through the steps, and that's bullshit. That's not what the step says.
Right.
Carry this message.
Right. Yep.
And how you choose to do that, but no matter what, if you want to stay sober and be happy, joyous, and free, find whatever it is your gift and carry this message. For Larry, it's this.
Right.
Chris does it in a professional manner. I don't. I do it my way.
Right.
So carry the message. And what that looks like to each individual, they need to find that out on their journey.
Yeah. Your thoughts, Chris?
Message of hope and healing.
There you
And
go.
I think a big part of it is practicing the principles in all of our affairs.
Yeah.
We don't have to be perfect, Larry. And if you think you're perfect, the exit signs are clearly marked.
Ooh, that's.
I like to think that we are broken and beautiful. And we give back, and I can give you a good example of that as well. Sure, I've done this for a few 24 hours in a row now, and when I needed a little bit more help practicing the principles, I turned to my brother, Rob. And we got to sit down and chat. And you also hear in the rooms, I think I got more out of this than you did. And that's the case. So when I get to carry that message of hope and healing to you guys, to anybody and everybody I work with, it helps me in my recovery.
The teacher became the student, and that's I always
Kind
say
of, but-
it's not okay. It's not teaching math, but but we always say that the metal sharpens metal, right? I mean, if you're in a position to where you can't ask somebody's help because you don't feel like you can, you're in trouble. You're in a bad spot.
But the gift that gave me when my brother Chris came, 10 years later, hey, would you?
Right.
I want to sharpen a few things up, Rob. Would you take me back through these steps?
Right.
And then what it helped me, I go, what did that teach me? Wow. So now my sponsor, Doug, right? Mm-hmm. Because me and Doug were talking, and I took Doug through the steps, and I was thinking, wow. You're this humble.
Yeah.
And what a gift for me to be able to give back to him as the man who changed my life. The man that I seen, I know God did it, brother. I know God did it. And Jay's instrumental and all the brothers, but you were the catalyst.
All right.
And for you to ask me to do that and me to get to do that, what a gift.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it's a gift that I've been given from God that I get to encourage and inspire people.
Yeah. You got a gift. And it's, I know, Chris, you want us to make sure not continue to put you up on a pedestal. I did that. I did that once with a pastor, and I watched me crumble spiritually because of it. And I always told myself I'd never do that again. And I haven't. One of the things that Katie and I think I just talked about this last time. Katie said something a while back, and she said, putting your faith in blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, I don't put my faith in anybody anymore. I don't want you putting your faith in me or anything. I want you putting your faith in God. If Rob went out drinking tomorrow, if I put my faith in Rob and he went out drinking tomorrow, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to follow him, right? And I'm going to go right back down the road. Well, fuck it. If Rob gives up, I give up as well, right? We can't do that as we are.
And we've seen that happen.
I cut you off. Sorry.
I was drinking water. And we've seen that happen,
right?
Haven't we, Chris?
Yes, we have.
Yeah,
too many times.
Right. When you start putting faith, and that's why I say, and go back to what I was talking about earlier about how I have to spend my time in my mornings. That's that morning meditation. I have to do that. That's something I have to do. If I go several days without doing that, it shows on how I'm approaching people. Everybody talks about they have to be in a meeting, have to be in a meeting, have to be in a meeting. You know what? Rob, you did it for 3 years every day. That's what got you through. That's what did it for you. I remember, and Chris telling you, minute you leave here, you got to go, go to a meeting, don't drink, go to a meeting, get a sponsor, right? So I did that. I was not going to not do that. I left there, spent some time with my wife, came home, got something to drink, went to a meeting, got my sponsor, met with him the next day. Of course, he passed me off to somebody else because he did. I still, but I did those things, right? I did those, and I know that. But after about a week of doing that, I was going every day I was doing that. After about a week, 2 weeks, I finally had to tell myself, and Katie was all on board, right? My wife was like, you go, do it. Never at any time did she ever say, you're doing too much, I want you to be home, blah, blah, blah. She never said that. It was something that after about 2 weeks of it, I'm like, I need a break. I need to spend some time with the reason I got sober was to be time with her, right? So, and my kids. And I had to stop. I had to back off and go, okay, is this going to work for me? And I did it this way for a little bit. You know what? I wasn't comfortable in that. I had to do it this way again. And I think the reason why I bring that up, because we talked about last week with Brad, that why are people scared to go in, right? Well, we talked about that, but now why do we stay, right? If you don't want to go every day and that's not for you, find something else. If you go into a meeting and that meeting's not comfortable for you, hey, there's an app called Find Meeting app, and there's a ton of them any time of day. Find us something else. Get into something else, right? Why am I keep going down rabbit holes? Why do you make me just want to talk, Chris?
You had that soapbox out today, my guy.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it. You go ahead and preach, boy.
I have a question I would like both Mary and Chris to answer. Because we talked
Not
about
me? You want me to shut up?
You, me, and Brad answered this last week.
Okay.
But and we had talked about some of the experiences we go through, and we're passionate when people come in and out. Some of our brothers, even if they're not our brothers, because we know what this disease can do. We know there may not be a coming back. Does it? Because when Brad first came in, Mary, to the rooms, and I would talk to some people, doing the three-step shuffle, right? And he pulled me aside and goes, man, you were kind of hard on that guy. I mean, cut him a break. He's straight, and he didn't know that guy's backstory like I did. It didn't matter. And so then now Brad, 2.5 years sober, goes up to people, hey, your program ain't working, bud. Why don't you figure something, loving on him a little bit like that. And for Chris, I guarantee, I don't know how many people you've seen where you work, do their 28 days, go back out and come back in. How do you stay, Chris? How do you stay positive? Because that would, or is that just something that we get to see, but when you get home, sometimes it would really devastate me when they don't come back and you hear that story, when you get connected to these people. Because I care, I love them, and it pisses me off sometimes. Not sometimes, pisses me off. And, how do you?
I try to focus on having an attitude of gratitude. And when somebody comes back because of a relapse, one of the first things I do is I greet them, I welcome them back, and I tell them how glad I am that they made it. Then I start giving them a little extra love and attention. I had to do that straight out the gate with Larry.
Absolutely.
Oh my!
But it's difficult. But I talk to people like you, Rob. I talk to people like Larry. I talk to people in the program because what I've also discovered is this: when I get to share with one of you, with another individual, I get support, healing, and freedom. I get support from the person I'm talking to. I get healing that the program promises, which are on page. What page are they on, Larry?
Don't do that to me. Don't. I said I'm learning. I didn't say I got it.
And then I get freedom because that stuff that causes so much pain, I don't have to carry around anymore because I get to talk to somebody about it. So you get the support, the healing, the freedom when you share with another individual.
Amen.
Mary?
There is a certain beautiful medicine that takes place whenever one alcoholic breathes the same air as another. Right. Whether they have been sober for 24 hours or 24 days or 24 years, the reality of it is I know exactly how you're feeling in the minute you're feeling it. I may not know the situation that put you those feelings there, but if I am well that day, I know that we can talk, and hopefully my well will rub off on your ill. Same way if you're If I'm ill that day and you're well, we might get a little bit better together. The whole reality of it is I tried living alone for a really long time, surrounded by people, but only stuck in these in between my ears, right? I was stuck in that place in between my ears where I was the hardest person to deal with. I was the worst of all of humanity. I was the worst. So it's not difficult for me to sit in a room with somebody who thinks that they're the worst. You want to know why? I know how you feel. Mm-hmm. It's not hard. I can put myself in their seat and I can look at them and say, you know what? But I'm not the worst today. You want me to tell you what I did? It's as simple as that. It's not being in charge of anybody and it's not telling anybody what they have to do. It's simply showing them what I did. Right. It's a walk. I'm holding their hand until I need them to hold mine, you know? And I only have two hands to hold. God's got one and I need somebody else in the other. Right. And that's how we make that link in the chain. And that's how we get well together.
Amen.
Yeah. So let's go back to Chris. So you mentioned earlier about, did you get the answer you're looking for over there?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I want to add something to that. Somewhere it says one alcoholic can share with another in a manner that's without parallel, right?
Yes.
Doesn't it?
Doctor's opinion.
You're asking
I'm asking you what page it's on, Larry.
You're
Doctor's opinion.
You didn't teach me that well, sir. That guy's got a photographic memory, though. If you ask him a scripture, and I'll guarantee you he'll pull it out.
I believe it.
It's ridiculous.
Go back to Chris.
He's got a lot of useless information up there.
Chris, right now, scripture's useless?
No, I'm sorry.
No.
You're right. Sorry,
Doesn't it also say, Larry, that selfishness, self-centeredness, that's at the root of our problems?
Yes.
Page 62. Top of page 62.
Gosh. Wow, I break myself into some of these things. You said earlier about your youngest son. Talk to me about your relationship with your kids and how's that everything there is going.
Son, I think.
Yeah,
The oldest son.
Well, it'd be your oldest now,
it's my only. It's a gift, another gift that I've been given. Unfortunately, my son followed in my footsteps with alcohol and other drug addiction, and he was lost in another state. And I would not accept his collect calls from jail. And then one day, the Spirit of Recovery prompted me to accept that call, and he talked to me, and I felt it. I felt his desire for help. And
What was different this time, Chris?
Can't answer that. Mm-hmm. But what I can say is that I talked to him a little bit about some of the literature that we read, more specifically the Big Book. I said, I'll see if I can send you one. He said, Dad, you don't have to. I said, really? He goes, yeah. Matter of fact, just yesterday, I found this book, and it was one of those books. and it had the word God scratched out, and it had Jesus written it versus the word God. And you know what? I do believe that you don't have to believe in Allah, Buddha, or Jesus. Just find that power that's going to help you, not pick up the first one. So it was about a week later when he was getting out of jail. I drove up there and met him at the gate, brought him back to California. He went through treatment, and we have a relationship now that's better than I could ever imagine. It's much better than I could ever imagine. Matter of fact, he's working at the facility I'm working at now, and he's studying to be
I have
counselor.
had the pleasure of meeting him, and he is a lovely human being.
Yeah, he's pretty.
Thank you.
We are two completely different people.
No, you're not.
He's like Grandpa.
Personality wise, but this guy was working around Mainers up there, was working around, blah blah blah, and so on and so forth. Well, this is when I was learned. Everybody was talking about a birthday celebration that they'd gone to, right? And the chef and blah, blah, the people that were working up there were talking about that. And I didn't know what it was. Then Austin said something about a birthday, that he had his birthday last night. I was like, cool. And then later on, I think it was the next session or something, Chris, I don't know if he meant to say it, but I heard him say, my son had his 1 year birthday last night. And I'm like, OMG. So I don't know if anybody else had figured it out, but I had figured it out, and I said something to Chris later. I was like, is that your son? He's like, yep. But he said it with a smile. I'll never forget that. He said it with a smile.
And it's another gift. It's another gift of the program of recovery. And, we get promises, right?
Right.
Amen.
Right.
Did I ask you what page that's on, Larry?
Wow.
It's in the 80s. I'll give you a hint. It's in the 80s.
I'll bet Rob knows.
I'm not going to say nothing, Larry.
No,
hinted
can
you
say
out.
it. I can tell you right now, guys. You could pick on me all you want.
89.
I do not. I try. Every
say-
time I
89.
read something. Every time I read
89.
83.
83, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm not completely. I remember a little bit.
Right. And Larry, like you said, those are promises from God.
Right.
Those are promises from your God. They're not promises from humans.
Can't believe I just pulled that out. Larry. Sorry, I had to celebrate a little
And
bit.
speaking of the promises, I don't know about you, but you will learn that this program is a process and it takes time.
Oh boy, does it.
Right? But that very first promise I hung on to.
If
Remember
we were,
what it was?
If we were painstaking about this phase of our development,
You
we'll
will
be
have a
amazed
new-
before we're halfway through.
Before we're halfway through?
you're gonna know it. That means you only have to do half the work.
And that's what I hung on to. And sure enough, I was amazed at several points throughout the course of working the steps. Amazed that I could admit that I was powerless. I was amazed that I believed something else out there was going to help me.
Right.
And then I was amazed that I made that decision to turn my will over to the care of God. That was hard. When I could do that, it was great. I was amazed.
We got. So I want to go back real fast, and then I want to go back on that because I got a question off of that. But so Austin, did Austin ever say what? Do you mind if I say his name? Okay, sorry. Did he ever say what his moment of clarity was? What got him to go? I'm going the wrong way. I mean, did he never really discuss that?
He didn't say it specifically.
Okay.
But I feel what he did see was what happened to me. Mm-hmm. And then when he went to treatment, I was told by more than one person, Chris, it's time for you to let go. You got to let him do his thing.
I will tell you that there have been more times in my life where I've had to surrender my children to God. And it's the most difficult thing out of anything. My addiction, any problem I've ever had in my life, surrendering my children, any problem that they have. Because as parents, it's almost, it's that knee-jerk reaction. I want to hold them tighter and, corral them and point them in the right direction. It's really, really difficult. That's where I lost my pride when God, he very gently reminded me in the most difficult of ways that I don't have control.
It makes me think of something. We're supposed to give God everything, right?
Supposed to.
And I do. Oh, but this little part of my life, God, I'm not going to give to you because I don't know what you're going to do with it. God, I don't trust you with this part of my life. That's a very dangerous place to be.
And is that what you were saying with Austin? You were just kind of you didn't want to let that go?
I didn't want to let it go. A tool that they've shared with me is I just need to trust in the process. Don't take lessons from him. Make yourself available. And that's what I got to do.
Were you trying to play the counselor with him? Is that what was going on?
At one point, I think I was, especially in the beginning.
Right.
Yeah.
I was trying to tell him what to do instead of allowing him to make the choice.
Kind of like what we do, what Brad was talking about, right? We bring a new guy to a meeting, and you're hoping, man, I hope he hears the right thing. I hope this is the meeting. I hope this is the topic. And
Right.
No, just take him and let God do the work.
Thank you for that.
And we got to get out of the damn way.
Thank you for that, because I got a friend that needs to go to a meeting, and I was going to ask our Monday night group to. That's funny you say that. I was going to ask the Monday night group to stay in Oakdale one more night, so this guy can come. You just sealed it for me. No, he's going with us Monday night. So
Kind of like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
right. I mean,
What I also believe.
But that just goes back to me trying to control the situation, right? I want him to be in the right place at the right time. I want to make sure we read this and read that.
But that's not your job to facilitate. It's your job to be the right person in the right place at the right time. But you never know who you are being that person for. It's just be that person all the time.
I mean,
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, but you can make him thirsty.
there you go.
You can share with them what you have.
Right. Run the shit out of them. So going back a little bit on that, so he's doing well. I saw him. I love it every time I go because we go back to Maynard's on the Sundays, Rob and I think Mary's been with me before too, and I love going up there because I love walking in there and seeing where it all began. Right, I love that. In fact, I still have my chip sitting right back here behind me when I left there, and those things are so important to me to go back to that. So when I got chances a couple weekends ago in Austin, he's there and just big old hug. And I just love his spirit. His spirit, when you see him walking across that campus
is as
over
infectious as Chris.
It is.
Right?
It's a gift.
It is.
It is.
Thank you.
And it's
is a gift.
lovely. It's that spark that
It's
that
true.
people talk about.
It's
a beautiful
true.
thing.
It is.
It's true.
And you know what? It's fun.
Right.
You can have fun in recovery.
We are not a glum lot.
Let me give you an example. Right now, playing on the softball team for the facility, right? And he's the coach.
Oh God.
Oh
I
man,
can only imagine.
I'm like stoked, because I got an knee injury, and he looked at me right in the face and said, "Hey, Dad, no whining in softball." I'm like, where did he get that from?
From you.
Yeah. So
It's a league of their own. There's no crying in
Yeah,
softball.
you're
Tom
right.
Hanks, guys.
You're right. So it's just a pure joy that I get to have fun with my son and all the other relationships that I've got to build over the time.
Brings
that I've
back
been doing.
point what you were saying about working with Austin. It's like when I was young playing baseball, when Dad would try to coach me in baseball, I never listened to Dad. He was, but when I got away from Dad and you got into what I thought was a real coach, right? That's just my dad. He don't know what he's doing. I realized how much my dad didn't know, right? So it took me getting away and getting another coach to go, shit, my dad knew what he was talking about.
Would you call that maturity?
Oh, thank you. I was going to say the same word, but thank you, Mary.
And you know what? He's throwing my stuff at me.
Who? Me?
My son.
Your son.
My son. He's like, Dad, and he starts throwing some of the stuff that we say in the rooms, and it's right back at me, and I'm smiling, so proud.
But
Well, you have to be proud.
And slightly pissed off because I get that. My daughter did it the other day. I was talking to my Bonnie, and we're talking about something. My daughter comes out of the bathroom, towel on out of the shower. She stops. Hey, Dad. Yeah, baby. What was your part in that? And then walks in the bedroom like, Dad, did she just fucking... But you're proud because they're listening, but you're also kind of humbled because, son of a bitch, she's right.
She's right. From the mouths of babes.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So I get to experience that joy today that I would have never got to experience if it wasn't for recovery.
Right.
Well, let's touch on something you said, Chris, because another reason people don't come in the rooms, right, or they get there, how am I going to have any fun? How can I can't drink and use it? How am I, like when you got here, you were having fun? No one gets to AA on a winning streak. You were having fun. That brought you here. But anyway, Mary,
Yeah.
is there fun in alcohol? And I just, okay, we're not sponsored by Alcoholics Anonymous. We are not affiliated with AA in any way. However, in sobriety, in recovery, do you have fun?
I have a great time. Is it different than what it was before? Yes. Am I, going crazy and having all these wild adventures? Not like I did when I was drunk. And I'm okay with that because now when I'm out having fun, I'm not afraid of where I'm at. I don't have a fear for my person, myself. I'm not afraid for what I'm going to say to people. And when I'm out with my friends that I have met in rooms of recovery, I know that I'm with safe people. If I get myself in a hard position, safe people are going to be there to remind me, I don't live like that anymore. I don't do these things anymore. So I'm not a glum lot. I go to lunch every Friday. Dinner every Friday with a big old group of crazy ass drunks. And it's a great freaking time. We got a big old booth in one of our local restaurants. There's probably 10 to 20 of us any given Friday night. And we're the loudest. We close down that restaurant every single week. And I walk away with having intimate relationships with people that I can count on who show up for me and who in turn I want to show up for. So,
Amen.
Chris, do you have fun?
Oh, I'm having a ball. Matter
20 years of sobriety. Do you have any fun?
I have a ball. And a matter of fact, it says in our literature there is use for cheerfulness and laughter. Because if somebody came into the rooms or like on this podcast and, hello, my name's Chris. I'm in recovery having a ball. Would you want that?
I want to jump on that bandwagon.
No, but we insist upon enjoying life, right?
Right.
And that was very... I didn't get that for a while. But I do remember my first meeting I went into... Right, I was one of those guys that had to get my court card signed. So I went into this meeting. I got there a few minutes early, And this dude came over to me and said, "Hi, we've been expecting you. Matter of fact, we got a seat for you right here." And I'm tripping thinking, man, he must know my PO. Right? Then he offered to get me a cup of coffee. I'm wondering why he's so nice to me. And then to top it off, at the end of the meeting, he gives me a hug before I leave.
How did you accept that hug?
Oh, it was hard.
Was it nervous?
I was very nervous. I didn't have any idea of what this place was. But it was so welcoming.
Right.
It's not going to happen every meeting.
Nope.
But I'll tell you what, at some of them it does.
Yep.
At first for me, when I walked into those rooms when people were so happy and nice to me, I was like, okay, I'm going to look around and see where the lie is. Right? Because there is nobody on the planet that's this genuinely nice and happy all the time. And then all of a sudden, I was one of them. I drank the Kool-Aid. I became a part of the pack, and I'm
because it's easy.
Yeah,
it was easy.
And I don't want to disparage where people choose to go for faith.
Big word.
But there was a young lady. She's at one of our meetings. We were in this meeting, happens to be at a church. And again, I'm not knocking anybody. However, just to tell you about people in recovery, she just had foot surgery. She didn't get one visitor or one call from the people from that church where she's a big part of. She got 26 phone calls and 13 visitors from the rooms from people in recovery. And I would love Mary, because Matt's here too, but to talk about what kind of support you got when you went through the hardest thing, in my opinion, the hardest thing a human being can go through. You guys did it sober. What kind of support did you get from recovered alcoholics and addicts?
Okay, so I can tell you that not only while we were going through it did we get support, it was all the support that happened beforehand, because these people were teaching us how to live and how to cope with life and life's unexpected ups, and in my case, downs. It was overwhelming. That's the only thing I can say. It was overwhelming. But I will tell you, because I had the practice of doing what they taught me to do, the night I found out that my son had brain cancer, I was on the phone making a gratitude list to my sponsor and my sisters in sobriety, so that I was right there, like Chris was saying, attitude of gratitude. Because it may sound a little hokey, but I could have missed it. Somebody else would have had the responsibility of walking my son home. I could have missed it. One more drink, somebody else would have had to take that from me. And because of the years leading up to when he became sick, I had the practice and I had the people around me to teach me how to do it. It was second nature. It was that immediate knee-jerk reaction. Okay, well, I need to call these people. I need to tell them I'm grateful for them. And then I need to find out what the next right step is. And in that process, while we were dealing with his illness, not only did we have phone calls, we had a GoFundMe set up by people in my fellowship. We had people showing up at a hospital 2.5 hours away from where we live. I hadn't cooked food for 5 months. That's how much people showed up and fed us. They didn't only feed us physically, because quite literally they gave us food. They gave us meals. They brought us foods, cards, everything. But they came with books. Alcoholics Anonymous books, with Jesus Callings, with all of these language of letting go, not necessarily because we're letting go of somebody, but because we have all these big feelings, things that I wouldn't know, because you don't know unless you don't know that you don't know. However, I found very, very quickly that the people who were meant to be in my life show up, and they show up in a big way. We had $15,000 of people showing up. $15,000 worth of people showing up to us. That provided for my family to live for 7 months without us having to go to work or worry about what the next paycheck was going to be. And I took it. I took every advantage of that. And I will tell you why.
Thank you.
Because you wouldn't have given it to me if you weren't able to. And I wasn't going to tell you you weren't worth my gratitude, because you very well are. On top of that, we had people show up with their big books, sitting down in our living room, giving us a meeting, because not only were they afraid for our family, they were afraid for our lives.
Yep.
Not just the life of our child, our lives, my body and my mind and my spirit. And so I don't know how many people showed up, hundreds. There were over 400 people at the service at for my son. And most of them that were there were family of origin and family of AA. And on top of that, now, after the dust has settled and the chaos of the loss has kind of eased a bit, the shock is gone and reality is settled in and grief has kind of found its home, I still don't have to worry about reaching out to somebody and telling them how I feel, because they know how I feel. That disparaging, that heartbroken, that in the bottom, that desperation. Because we go through desperation more than just when we're drunk. I went through desperation, sober and drunk, and both times that I found myself on my knees in complete despair and crying out to God, he met me on my knees. And I'll tell you how he did it. With you, Larry, and with Rob. Right? These are the people that showed up, with Matt and with Chris, and all those little things, those little quips that people say throughout our days in and out of the rooms. Those became my words, my voice of God. Because God doesn't speak to me in my own voice. That's how I know it's my will. God talks to me through everybody else. So regardless of whether it happened when I needed it, I had it in my pocket for the day that it became appropriate to use. Does that make sense?
Perfect.
It's the practice. Practice makes for a perfect opportunity.
Right.
Good. Well put.
You know what that's a really good example of?
What's that, brother?
How much I need you.
And you need me, and we all need recovery. Hell yeah, Chris.
All these silly little attention grabbers I have to hang on to. I need these little slogans, attention grabbers, whatever you want to call them, to bring me back into the present when my mind starts to go in that unhealthy direction. And I remember these sometimes.
Yeah. Way my brain works is, you guys hear it on the podcast all the time, because my ADHD will take off down a rabbit hole to something that we didn't even talk about. I have to have my reminders during the day to remind myself of where I am, where my brain is perfectly set at that time. Talked about it last week about my stopping with Javi, and my prayer that morning, and God presenting the opportunity for me to sit with Javi, and I had another opportunity that I one of the things that Mary and I share together, and I'm going to kind of transition into something a little bit, because I wanted to talk about something, and I don't mean to go away from everything else, but I want to talk about something that has been on my mind quite a bit. And Mary, you've had it, I've had it. I know multiple people that's had gastric bypass in this, my gastric bypass was 2007, July 3rd of 2007. And my wife will tell you that she watched my alcoholism progress tremendously about 6 months after that, right? About 6 months after my surgery. Do you remember about how long
I think our situations are a little bit different. I had a bariatric surgery.
Okay.
It was a lap band, so I had very similar.
Okay.
My stomach was very small. However, I didn't start drinking right away.
Okay.
I was an alcoholic. I hadn't admitted to myself or anybody else I was an alcoholic well before I had the bariatric surgery. I wasn't using it as a crutch. I was a dry drunk when I had the surgery.
Right.
It took about 3 years from the surgery until I started drinking. And then the minute I started drinking, it was like, let's go, my guys. Let's do it.
So you weren't eating anymore?
No, I was not eating.
Right.
I did not.
There has to be some science behind that, because I know, being in the rooms a lot of years, a lot of people have that story.
Yeah. So what
mostly
happens?
Women.
There is science. So alcohol is absorbed through the soft tissues in the stomach, obviously. But if your stomach is smaller, the only thing that can go through is either liquids, something. Mm-hmm. So if you have food in there, it'll sit on top of where where that stomach is. It's got a real small little lip. It'll sit on top, but the liquids will try to wiggle their way in. So if you've got alcohol in there before you have food, you're good to go. You're already drunk because your stomach's already. That's all. It doesn't have any room for any other food. It's just alcohol.
But it goes through us like that.
Quick.
Yeah.
Real quick.
I was telling you the other day, I was able to drink a 12-pack of beer, and an hour later, you wouldn't even notice I did it. I mean, it went through me that fast. And it got to me to where it almost, and when you talk about, Rob, the alcohol stopped working, well, the alcohol stopped working on me long before I quit drinking, because I would literally have to drink to get that same effect to where I was, because the alcohol going through me so quickly. That's when the whiskey came in, right? That's when I'm going to have to do something different.
That's when the amounts started.
Right. Or
I got to where the 36 pack wasn't getting me to where I needed to be.
Yeah, why drink beer? I mean, you have to drink a whole beer to take one shot.
Well, I had to drink beer in front of the family. Right? I had to drink beer in front of the family,
Alcoholic behavior?
Right. I mean, everybody knew I drink beer. I mean, the whiskey was, that was the hidden part, right? That's what, occasionally they would find something here and there. And, my son-in-law pretty much knew that my behavior had changed, right? So they saw the changes that was in me. So, Pat knew a little bit, understood it. I think he saw it. I may be naive. Katie probably saw it too, but I was hiding it. That's what I did not drink out in the open. The 36 pack, that was easily in a day. I mean, that was easy. And, when I hear people talk about drinking 18 packs a day, I'm like, what'd you have for dinner?
But to go back a little bit, because at Primary Purpose, when I came in, there was 4. They're all women at the time. Well, they're not all at the time. They're still women. Anyway. But
Glad you clarified.
I was going to say.
Yeah. But at the time, they were basically teetotalers.
Right.
They're telling their story, had surgery, had that.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Stomach stable, whatever they did. And then it went from 0 to 100. They were basically didn't drink, and then they started a little bit, and then they went off the rails. Right. So what is it about that surgery
I will tell you.
Causes that?
Food for most heavy people is their original addiction.
Okay, bring it. Okay.
So it's a coping mechanism, right? We eat to cope with our feelings, with how we're feeling. I will overeat. I don't eat much now, but I will overeat to make sure I feel better, right? That's how I comfort myself. Now, when you remove food from the equation, because that's what you're doing. When you have a bariatric surgery, the first 2 weeks, I think, you only have clear liquids. Yep. So you don't even have that for the first 2 weeks. So you're going through the hardest part of your life. You're going through this huge surgery, huge changes. Not only are you going through, physical changes, now your mental changes are kind of having to catch up with what's happening to your body. So you don't have the food.
So they took your comfort away.
They took your comfort away.
Okay.
Now you have to find something else. If you're smart, you find other coping mechanisms.
Healthy coping
mechanisms for other people. I want something that's quick and easy and readily available. And I'm pretty sure alcohol is the only drug that you have to explain to people why you're not consuming it.
Right.
So
we talked about that.
Well said.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I will tell you that I did not get that information for myself. Somebody else in the program told me. He's dear to me. He also had a bariatric surgery, and he will be the first to admit that if I don't have food to comfort me and I don't have alcohol to comfort me, I have to find something better.
Isn't that our challenge, the cross addiction?
Yeah, I fight it with my Copenhagen. I can tell you that. It's something that, you guys give me a hard time with.
No, I don't give you a hard time. I just ask you, why haven't you given to the Lord?
Because I haven't,
brother?
and I'm not going to go back down that. But it's what I choose for my comfort at this point, right?
Well, first things first, right? Isn't that one of our
slogans?
slogans?
I've been saying that for 2.5 years. At some point, I got to stop saying that, so that I know this. Right?
Mary, I said that, Mary, right till I got stage 4 cancer in my neck. First things first. Maybe that has to happen to Larry. I don't know, but
I hope I don't have to get hit over the head with a 2x4.
Rob
like
says he hates it, but it takes what it takes.
Do you run into that? Have you dealt with very much of that to where the gastric bypass, Chris?
No, not the gastric bypass, but a lot of cross addiction. Mm-hmm. Whether it be gambling, food, sexual addiction. Right. That's common. Right. To those of us that struggle with this disease of alcoholism and addiction.
And choose anything other than, because we all did it. Right. You go to page 30, drinking beer only, limiting. We've all tried all that stuff. We didn't know it till you read the book. I tried that and then some other things. Right. We turned to everything else but God because why? Yeah. Like Chris said, we didn't trust him. Yep. I don't trust you with this.
Right. I just had a conversation with somebody today that they gave up drinking. They're very happy with themselves, and I was very happy for them too. But I asked, have you been in the program? And they said no. And I'm like, well, go ahead.
I love that people get sober outside the program. I think they have amazing strength and to do it without others. Right. I will tell you though, I won't disparage them for it. I just think
no, I
that
didn't.
sobriety looks so different on every single
Right.
person that has it. Recovery looks so different. So if you get it the way that you get it and you're happy and joyous and free, whatever form you take,
Do you think, okay, it's a good subject, and I'll be more than happy to go down that road for a little bit. Do you think that these people, and I know people that have gotten sober and have never stepped into a room of AA, and they're perfectly happy. They're beautiful people. I couldn't have done it. I guess that's another way to look at it.
Page 25 to 30, right? You have the normal drinker.
Right.
You have the certain type of hard drinker.
Right.
Then you have the alcoholic. Maybe they weren't us. They didn't cross that invisible line. They can stop or moderate. There are some people that they don't get to the points we did. So they're not alcoholic.
Right.
They're the certain type of hard drinker that can stop or moderate, given sufficient motivation. DUI, health.
Right.
Man, they get a health scare. They can put it down. We crossed that line. We couldn't, once we crossed the line, there's no unringing the bell. We were alcoholic. There's some people that can do that. They weren't us.
They watched one of their parents die of alcoholism.
Yeah.
So
and they just say, this ain't for me.
that's that motivation.
Right. And that may be my bad for giving the advice I got. I guess I think for me is I would have to white knuckle that. And
Because you're alcoholic.
Right.
And
You're right.
And it's not bad to make those suggestions because what you're really wanting for them is the joy, the peace, the serenity that you have.
We talked about
you
that.
want that for these people.
Yeah.
That's all.
And it comes different for different people, right? I mean, my peace and my serenity that I have comes from this program and doing this and being involved with you guys and being involved with the H&I and going into the jails. That's where my peace and serenity comes from. It comes from being in a room we had 18 men the other night in that meeting.
The Monday night. Yeah.
3 brand new guys, right? I mean, the peace and joy that comes from stuff like that is, that's where I draw from, right? That's going to get me through another 7 days, the next 6 days to get back into that room. We talked earlier about me when I was doing every night when I first got sober and when I first came out of Maynard's, to where I had to start scaling back and I had to start saying, okay, for me, I had to find a balance, right?
Everybody needs to find a balance, but that looks different for everybody.
For me, I had to find a balance. And I'm very careful on when I tell people that, right? So for me and me alone, I had to find a balance. And that balance was I needed my wife. I needed her. She supports my mental stability. Her face, her laugh, her smile, everything about her balances me. And I had to pull back from how many meetings I was going to. So for me, it's Monday night and it's Saturday mornings, right? Those are my meetings. Those are my staples that I don't miss for nothing. Now, I have missed Saturday morning meetings because Katie's decided she's wanting to go do something. I'm not missing those opportunities for nothing, right? Katie says
that's why we do this. That's why we get sober, so we can take advantage of those opportunities, so we can be present with everybody else. That's why we do it.
Absolutely.
Did you ever miss those opportunities where you were drinking?
All the fucking time, Chris.
That's 2 points.
That's $1.
And isn't that the point?
No, and that's why
that is the point, Chris.
It's 100% the point. I mean, I got a daughter sitting, just in a room over. The joy to see her when she comes in is it wasn't that I didn't want her to be there. I just did the joy that I feel in my heart and my soul when I see her walk through the room. It's not even remotely close to it. I can't even tell you that it's not that I didn't have it before. It's just what I feel now is just when I see my grandkids walk through
I think that sometimes whenever we're drinking, God, his voice is drowned out and we don't get to be grateful for the things that we should be or we ought to be. And as soon as that liquor goes away and we have a little bit of clarity, all of those beautiful things that were blessings abounding around us at all times are now apparent to us.
And we get it and we get to do it. I almost miss this is what always, you said that a minute ago, Mary, I almost missed this. I could have missed this. Even though I was there, I could have missed it. Right. I go back to my daughter's wedding, my oldest daughter's wedding, and I may have been there, right? But I would have missed it. I would have missed the moments of that. So I want to bring something else up, Chris. I want to talk to you about some of the other stuff that you're doing for recovery outside of your counseling. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Thanks, Larry.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been blessed with the opportunity and the support of
Turn
a
your
couple
mic.
other
There you
programs
go.
that I get to do. One of which is a nonprofit that I have called Spiritual Roads.
Okay.
And before anybody gets too excited about that, basically it's a 12-step based spiritual program of action. Don't have to believe in Allah, Buddha, or Jesus, but we're going to come alongside you and hopefully encourage and inspire you to come into the rooms, to come into recovery. Brings me a lot of joy. And then the most recent one we have, another way of carrying the message, is we have a new online program. And the website is recoveryispossibletoday.org. So my co-host and I get to shoot videos. We have a workbook. I encourage you to go to the website and check it out.
YouTube channel.
And it is on YouTube as well. Yes.
Right.
recoveryispossibletoday.org. You know, and I like to start off our morning groups with this statement. Today I am here.
Mm-hmm.
Today I am present.
Yes.
Today I'm alive because recovery is possible today. And then they say .org.
Yeah.
So that's it's one of the opportunities I have to serve, very similar to this podcast. And it's a gift that I've been given because I've been willing to surrender to God and work the program.
Right. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, Chris. Thank you so much for coming in here today. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Is that it?
Well, I had a pretty good day yesterday. Did you?
Oh my God.
Did you have a good day yesterday?
Fantastic day.
Well, if you do the same thing today as you did yesterday, Rob, you're going to have another fantastic day.
I'm on the way,
Amen.
buddy.
That's so funny.
So the uplifting, the inspiring, the encouraging attitude that we have together is really going to help that newcomer.
Right.
And I really believe that's what it's
Right.
about.
But what makes it help the newcomers, because for you, it's a gift, but we believe it. Because you mean it. That's the effect. You mean what you say when you all these little corny things that you say to us, that smile that used to drive us nuts. You mean it 100%. And that's genuine. And that's why it's infectious, because this man means what he says.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't know what day it was, but there's another gentleman that I'm probably not going to say his name, but everybody's going to know who I'm talking about. There's another gentleman that works in the front, and somebody was talking, and I know who it was. They said, I can only take so much of that guy. And I go, I could sit in a room all day long with that guy. Are you kidding me? You know, because that is because he's like you, right? You and this guy I'm talking about are two peas in a pod, and it's infectious. It's just you want to have that joy. That to me, when I see that, it's peace, it's joy. Why would you not want that?
You see the guy that's a little slower than me?
Now stop it.
That's awesome.
Plays the piano like nobody's business.
Right.
But that's the kind of relationships that we get to form.
Right.
Amen.
You know,
Unique and wonderful, I think our book calls them in one of the stories.
Amen.
We find
Where-
unique and wonderful
Where the
What
relationships.
page is that on?
Attraction rather than promotion comes in. That's what we're talking
yes. And there's use for cheerfulness and laughter. If you
Right.
come into the rooms and I have a piss poor negative attitude, you're not going to want that.
No.
But today, people come in to get to see our joy and peace beyond all understanding. They want what we've got.
There's a man that I know in Oakdale. He talks about he's been sober and he's been drunk, and he's had bad days drunk. But while he's been sober, he's had bad moments in each day, which are not equating up to bad days. They're only just moments. And I think Alcoholics Anonymous, or going through the process of the steps, taught me how to let the bad moments go so that the day is not ruined.
I like that.
Amen.
That's why I tell Larry, because he talked, but when we were on with Brad, he had his having a shitty day. I said, did you really? Yes, Rob, I don't know whatever you want to call it. I've never had a bad day in sobriety.
Right.
I've had just like you, I've had a lot of hard days, man, a lot of hard days. But I've had some easy days. But if you don't have both, you can't appreciate either.
No.
But I've yet to have a bad day, man. This is just the easier, softer way. What a great way to live.
So I found my notebook, Chris, and I wanted to go over some of this stuff.
Oh, boy.
Denial. Don't even know I am lying. Love that one.
Larry, do you know what denial is?
Don't even know I'm lying.
You don't remember, do you?
Tell him, Chris.
I just told you what it is.
Let me tell you what denial is,
That's
Larry.
what you told me.
Denial is the absence of rigorous honesty.
Hold on. I saw that. Hold on. It's right here. See, it's highlighted.
Yeah. Okay.
It's highlighted. It's highlighted. Hold on.
What
I
else
just
you
saw
got
another
there,
one.
Larry?
Hold on. I just saw another one. I have them all over.
By the way, every sponsor I've ever had
Halt.
knows the 5 to stay alive.
Right.
Which
what?
are
The 5 to stay alive.
What are those?
Go to a meeting, get a sponsor, do the steps, be of service, and don't pick up no matter what.
Oh, that's good stuff. You know, if I'm humble, if I got to play any role whatsoever in anybody improving their life, getting sober and staying sober.
I love that about this program because it teaches us how to be workers among workers. Instead of bosses and leaders, it teaches us how to be one of the flock.
foot washers.
Amen.
You know that my daughter did that at her wedding. You were at the actual wedding, weren't you, Chris?
Yes.
Yeah. She did that. They actually did that because I did it to them, my kids, when they were super young in church. We went to, what was remember a while back, it was the big church, the men's group that used
Promise Keepers?
Promise Keepers. We went to Promise Keepers and they did that at one of the Promise
Page
Keepers.
35.
Yeah, and we came back and we did that at the church. And the oldest was super little when was probably, I don't know, 7, 8. So McKenna had to be 2 or 3. But Miranda's always remembered that, always. And they said they were going to do it at their wedding. And I'm like, well, baby, I don't know, I don't know how that's going to go over, And once again, that was the devil talking to me. He's like, Larry, she wants it. Shut up. And you know what? I loved it. I sat there and watched my son-in-law wash my daughter's foot. And it just absolutely took me back to when I did it to my wife and kids. And I loved it. But, everybody else was like, what was that? What? And I think my uncle, I'm going down a rabbit hole. Never mind.
Edit it.
Yeah, no, I can take all that out. Anyway.
Did he say he was going to wash our feet, Rob?
Don't touch my feet, Larry.
I'll make you laugh.
No, you won't. Everybody else will be laughing when your nose is broke.
I'm going to walk through some stuff. I'm going to make him earn his money.
All right, I'm going to shut this thing down, Chris. Once again, my gosh, dude, when I was able to sit and start having lunch with you and break down and start having a friendship with you was probably one of my greatest days. I'll never forget the phone call when you said, let's have lunch. And I went through the roof with excitement. There's few people in my life that have changed it. You were one of them. There's very few people I can say in my life that I honor, and you're one of them. Besides my Lord, you're one of them. And I know that you don't like to hear this stuff, but get over it. You have saved a lot of people's lives. God has used you in so many ways. And I don't know where I'm going with that, except to say, from my family, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. And I still feel undeserving because it's just what we get to do as a forever family in recovery.
Amen.
Encourage and inspire.
Say something to Chris.
Oh, Chris. What should I say to you? Chris L., my favorite Chris. I don't want to tell you that you're inspiring, and I don't want to tell you that you are strength that I want to watch and become. I want to just tell you thank you for getting sober and showing me how to do it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I love you. More than life itself, I love you.
Thank you.
So I know his humanity, and I love you all the more for knowing you, because I know you balls to bone. I know you. And that makes me, with people that just know and love you, but they don't get to know that, I love you more because I know that. And I know how genuine that is. So just take it, baby. Just take it.
Sorry, Rob, I almost cut you off of that.
That's all right.
No, my bad. I'm sorry. See, that was Larry being Larry again.
Get your shit together.
Oh my gosh.
I'm the one that keeps them down to the right size.
Right.
Good.
Right.
Somebody needs to.
They're okay. Chris,
Yep.
You're all right. I mean, you're okay.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. My name is Larry.
My name's Rob.
My name's Chris.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm Mary.
Yeah. So we're going to get out of here. You can reach us. Send us a comment. Send us a question. Send us anything you want at recoveryunfilteredrob and Larry at gmail.com. That's recoveryunfilteredrob.
In the letter N, Larry
at gmail.com. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for joining us today.
We hope you learned something today that will help you.
If you did not, come back next week and we'll try again.
If you like what we heard, give us a 5-star review. If you don't like what you heard, kiss my... You can't say that, can you? Anyway, if you don't like what you heard, go ahead and tell us that too. We'll see what we can improve. We probably won't change nothing, but do it anyway.
Hey, thanks, Rob. Come back next week and hopefully something will be different and something will sink in. Take care.
This has been Recovery Unfiltered.